Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, the world's leading authority on childcare marketing, mindset, expansion, and profitability. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches and are the top-selling childcare business book authors of all time. This episode is sponsored by Childcare Genius Marketing. Let Childcare Genius Marketing help you get fully enrolled and fully staffed. Visit childcaregenius.com for more details. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast our hosts, Brian and Carol Duprey.
Hi, Diane. Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. We've had you on before. Wanted to bring you back on. You're doing amazing things. You've been at Childcare Genius University for a while now. And I just saw you at the last conference. I actually had you speak there because you've been doing such a good job helping our coaching clients, and you've just grown so significantly. You're one of my star pupils, star students at Childcare Genius University. Wanted to have you on. Your business is growing, and we're going to have a little bit of fun today, if you don't mind, and talk a little bit about you. I make you a little bit uncomfortable, because I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but I'm going to fire some questions away. But before we do so, why don't you give a little background to the audience, like where you come from? Been in childcare forever, or are you just a new one? What are you?
Sure. No, I actually feel like I always say this. I feel like I have a perfect world in some way because I come from handling money to handling children. So the two things that we attach to the most. But yes, I come from finance. I was not the teacher in the classroom. And I come from handling the stock market primarily with Latin America. And then had my daughter, decided that I was sort of done with this world, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then somehow childcare landed on my lap, and it's been great since. I love what I do, and it keeps me going.
Well, that's good. You live in New Jersey, so and I've been to your schools, and they are amazing. They are wonderful, for sure. But since we've started doing it, we've worked together now for a few years, and you've expanded significantly since you've been with me. And what's some of the biggest breakthroughs or turning points that fueled the growth? I mean, you've been growing significantly in the last few years. So what's the biggest what's caused?
So it took me forever, right, to get started. But once I started, it just came natural. Like you learn a few things, but I opened in 2008, and the first expansion was actually my very first location. I was a little bit of a corner place, like mom and pop type of shop, and the opportunity came to actually expand that particular location. And from 2008, it took me to 2016 to get started. And even still, after that was grown, I was very much, into my own world, and don't bother me, don't talk to me. I have my little perfect world in that corner. My husband would say to me, you have to expand. And I'm like, you're crazy. I don't want to break what I have. It's perfect. And then after that particular expansion, things started to shift a little bit with my staff. The staff culture started to shift a little bit. I wasn't quite sure, and it got to a point where I got really desperate. So at that point, I pulled out white paper from the printer, gave every single one of my staff members a piece of paper and a pen, and said to them, go home and write a Dear Diane anonymous letter because I want to know what the problem is here. And they came back, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. My goodness, boy, was I a bad leader. In any event, needless to say that's when I came across you. And you convinced me. You're basically in conversation. We talked. And then I think I was very afraid. I was very afraid of joining a group. I was very afraid of that scarcity mindset, that fear. I thought I had this perfect little thing in the corner. The fear of spending the money, it cost me too much money. And I joined the bottom tier of that group. And then it wasn't until later years that I realized that I was selling myself short, and having a conversation with you and watching everyone in the group grow so much so fast and being able to do it. I just literally looked at myself and I said, if they can do it, why can't you do it? And it started, and that's it. And after it started, I feel like when you believe and when you breathe abundance and when you really truly want it and you create a plan for yourself, you just go for it. And that fear, the fear is always there, right? The fear is always there. Um, but it's different. It's easier. You kind of know you I don't know, your tolerance grows also a little bit. I'm not sure, but yeah, I love it. Eventually, my ultimate dream is to reach 10, but right now I'm at 4, maybe 5. We'll see.
We'll get you there. It's a good goal to have.
Maybe.
That was my goal. I hit my goal. One was once was 100, but then I came back down to reality. I'm like, okay, 10's good. Uh, Now, scaling to 5 locations requires letting go of certain things. Obviously, you can't be in 5 places at once. And I think that's one of the major reasons why people don't expand. They're like, I work 40 or 50 hours a week at one location. How am I going to spend another 40 to 50 at another? Like, how do I let go? Um, Now, what's some key changes you made in your operations, your leadership team, or your process that has allowed you to open multiple locations?
Um, Mindset is number one, I would say. And I know, it's very easy to sit here and say, what mindset are we talking about? But really, truly being okay with not being in control 100% and accepting that mistakes are okay to be made. And they're lessons to learn, and you just hopefully turn it around, fix it, and move on in a better position. That was the first thing for me, the letting go of that control. Second, I mean, we talk about systems, we talk about all of this beautiful stuff. Even now, the biggest conversation is implementation. Stop learning and stop implementing, that kind of a thing, or learn and implement at the same time. But yes, systems are great, implementation is great, but then who's holding the top leaders accountable, right? So who's holding yourself accountable? So you really truly, for me, it was about coming into myself and saying, where am I falling short? And what do I need to change? What do I need to fix in order to start from the top down, right? And I realized that I was giving a lot of rope to my staff, to my leaders. I just kept giving them rope and they kept pulling and pulling, not because they're bad people, but because I kept giving that. And so naturally, we all do the same thing, right? When you get a rope, you pull, and you keep going until it stops. And that's where I got to. It had to stop. It stopped with me. It started with me. It stopped with me. And I had to realize that. So now, aside from, yes, there are systems and there's implementation, more importantly, I'm more in tune with myself and realize that truly it starts with me and I'm holding my staff accountable to it. Yeah.
That's great, great answer. And I mean, I could definitely see how that's what the reason for your success. I mean, you did a checkup from the neck up.
Yeah. It wasn't easy though. It wasn't easy, you know. It's admitting that you're the problem. It's like, it takes.
I have it all the time. I hear an owner say, I've been through 5 or 6 directors. And I have to say, have you ever thought that maybe it's you? And they're like, what? Like, maybe it's me. And you have to have a self-inflection.
Yeah.
I realized at one point I was burning out my directors because of the way I was treating them like a military operation here. And the way I drove them and worked many hours, they were all working 50 hours, 55 hours a week. Like I because it's nothing for me, I wasn't thinking about the consequences of my action. So when I had 2 directors give notice the same week, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And that was a self-evaluation. And I'm like, okay, these people have families too. I've got to think like that. And so that self-reflection is important. All owners should do that.
I mean, I literally went in and said, okay, let me look at the director role. And I myself have been in the position of a director, right? Because when I first started my business, I knew, and I realized that the director role is big, it's massive. And I think oftentimes we think we think we can do it perfect, but we really can't. When if we're honest with ourselves, we're not doing it fine. I mean, in today's day and age with AI and all of that, obviously we could probably do it a little bit better, but 18 years ago that wasn't the case. And I knew I was falling short because one of the biggest issues that I had was that people would go into the Facebook mom groups and say, like, I tried calling Diane or I tried calling World of Wonder and she's not answering the call, she's not responding because everything was so manual. And it was just me because I wanted to be the hero, and keep my little perfect place. Um, Now it's might be easier. CRMs and AIs and all of that might be slightly easier, but still, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And so I started there. I said, there's just no way that a director can do a perfect job. And I started splitting the director role into two roles, and narrowing that down and understanding, okay, so these are the directors. This is, there's the director of operations, the director of sales, and they each have their own lines. And then how do we support them from there? And how do we build them from there? How do we rebuild job descriptions from here? Where are the KPIs? Where are the measurables? Where do I hold people accountable? And you test it, and it's a lot of work though. Like it's not something that you're going to sit there and go, okay, let me do 2 seconds and get this done. No, like you have to, like, how am I going to hold this person accountable? And what's my end goal by doing this split? Like, how do I move forward from here? And really be realistic about what you can and cannot do. So that was a really big eye opener was when I sat down and decided, am I looking for quality or am I looking for quantity? I'm looking for quantity, but I also don't want to give up my quality, right? So how do I make this quality happen while I'm still looking at quantity? And so I had to figure it out and sit back and really look at myself, start with myself, and then move down from there. And that's helped a lot tremendously.
Once you open a couple centers, you could open 10, right? So that it's just rinse and repeat, right? You do the same process over and over again. The second school is very hard, right? Would you say that was your hardest one to get out of that?
I have to agree with you. Yes, I have to agree. And funny thing is, I will never forget you saying your second school is always going to be the hardest one. Your second school's going so I went into getting my second school going. Brian said this was going to be the hardest one. Brian said, but then I kept saying, wow, I thought it was going to be, I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't think it was be this hard. For sure. And I feel like too, every school has its own challenges in different ways. So when you open your first, you think you have it, then the second one brings different challenges. You learn from that. The third one, less challenges, but still, depending on the area, depending what you're doing, depending on the programs, it could bring a little bit different challenges. So it's a live and learn, and it's never perfect, and you just keep adding to the challenges, which in some way for me that's great because I love challenges. I don't like to stay seated in the same position all the time.
Well, that's good. Yeah, second's only the hardest because it's so hard to let go of that first one. It's a
Yep.
control thing, it's a perfectionist thing, and now you have to rely on other people because now you're not very involved at all on the operation side. You let them do, they don't micromanage, they run their own thing. And you have to accept for less than 100%.
Hmm.
Because even though some directors are going to do some things better than you, more than likely in your mind, you probably think, well, I could do that better, but I'm okay with 95% of what I would do. You have to accept a little imperfection. And that's hard for a lot of people.
Oh, it's super hard. Super hard. When, you have the most amazing reputation in town. You're doing everything right. Parents love you and all of that. And now you've got to let go of that. Your biggest fear is like, oh my God, if I'm not here to control every single thing, what's going to happen? So it's really difficult to let go of that control. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
but that's why we have insurance if something bad goes wrong. And that's why you hire good. So you don't have teachers doing dumb things and getting
Yeah.
you in big trouble, right? So hire good. But again, when you have multiple schools, you also spread your risk out, right? You have
Yeah.
five schools. If one of them burns down, God forbid, you still have four schools. You only have one,
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And also that was, yes, I remember thinking to myself, if something happens to the school, what's going to happen and all of it. Now, I mean, yes, if something happens to one school or two schools or like you're still worried, but at least okay, well, if this fails, I have this one, or if that fails. And my goal, I mean, is to expand similar to you, get like real estate and do all of that. I just don't, I still feel in some way that in childcare you kind of put your eggs all in one basket, even though I have different locations. But reputation counts, and sometimes it can impact one or the other, especially when you're all within like a 3 mile radius. It could potentially impact a little bit more. But yeah, I definitely, I want to expand in different ways. I definitely, continue the speaking thing, doing real estate, and who knows, maybe instead of doing 10 centers, kind of shift a little bit into different things.
That's the power of pivoting. You're as you grow, as you climb the mountain, you're like further you can see, and your priorities are going to change, and that's okay. As we get older, our priorities are going to change.
Yeah.
Or how we feel about money and making money and what we do with the last years of our life. Like once you get middle age,
Hmm.
between 40 and 60, you start thinking differently than you did in your 20s and 30s. So, yeah, good on you that you're going to change. I won't hold you to the 10, but if a good deal comes along, we'll go get it.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I was telling that to my husband actually. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm just okay where we are now. And he looked at me, he goes, yeah, until the next deal lands on your table and you're and I'm
You're
like,
100% right.
true.
100%. All right. So the last question for you is, for those center owners, there's people out there listening right now that like I'm just nervous about taking that step towards getting that second school. What's the most important advice you could give them?
That's always a tough one because I feel like when you're in that moment, again, I can't help but coming back to mindset. I remember when I had my one and I thought my world was perfect. Um, First of all, I wish I had come across coaching a lot earlier than I did. That's number one, because I think things for me would have started earlier. Number two, you're so wrapped up in your own world and your fears, and that you're always afraid of the next thing, and and just go, let it go. Like, I mean, and I think I said this before, like no one sits there and plans, when they're gonna get pregnant or when they're gonna do something like you just wake up and go, oh well, I'm about to have a child. Like it's rare that you plan this 100%, right? You just do it. Otherwise, like I don't know, the whole process can be difficult and tedious being pregnant and giving birth that like you wouldn't do it naturally. So I say to myself, just do it. Just like, don't be afraid. Don't be nervous. There's always going to be a little bit of fear, no matter how many locations you have. The fear is always going to be there, but just don't let that take over you and jump in and do it. You'll learn so much and you'll feel like, oh, I wish I had done this earlier. Um, but yeah, I mean, coaching is also a big deal for me. Like, I feel like I also did not get ready. I believe I undersold myself in many ways. I should have just done like the top tiers versus that. I think you definitely grow more if you're in the right groups and the right rooms, because people push you to do more and push you to do better. And that's what I think happened to me because when you stay put and you get comfortable, right? When you get comfortable, you grow outside of your comfort zone. And that's true. When you get comfortable, you're just going to stay in that little corner. And I've been there. I've been there. So I understand the fear, but just do it. Just do it.
Great advice. And I'm glad you just did it. And I'm glad you have grown and you got a great program. Like I said, I've visited all your schools. I've been to them 2 different times and love what I saw. And you do a great program. And the kids and the parents that you deal with are blessed to have you in their lives. That's for sure.
Thank
So
you.
I want to thank you for taking the time to come out on the Child Care Genius podcast today, sharing your knowledge and expertise with our audience. And hopefully, if you're listening and you need help in your business, don't forget to reach out. Go to childcaregenius.com, select the coaching tab, say, I'd like a free coaching call. We'll get on a call with you and we'll see where we can help you grow your business. So thank you again, Diane, from
Well, thank
Hoboken,
you.
New Jersey, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Childcare Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.